Let's start with a brief introduction to the topic. In our globalist world, the topic of sustainable development has never been more critical, and its impact is particularly profound in rural areas. We can see, for example, different poverty, especially in rural areas, like in Africa, where the rural population don't have access to financial requirements to develop their projects. That's why it's important to develop different projects, especially in rural areas. In fact, rural areas often face unique challenges, from limited access to resources to the need of inclusive development that uplifts entire communities. Today, we will explore the role of effective project management plays addressing these challenges, driving meaningful change, and fostering lasting impact in rural and sustainable development initiatives. The main objectives of the presentation are to explain the adaptability of project management methodologies in different rural environments, emphasizing the need of flexibility and innovation to address evolving challenges, explore strategies within project management that promote long-term sustainability, focusing on environmentally conscious practices and the integration of social and economic sustainability into development initiatives, and finally, provide insights and tools, provide skills and knowledge necessary to navigate the intricacies of rural and sustainable development projects effectively. So, the plan of the presentation are divided into 6 parts. First, project development cycle, then implementation of project, monitoring and evaluation of project, communication, which is very important in project, ethics, quality control and the impact, and finally, a case study of a project developed by United Nations. So let's start by presenting the project development cycle. There are especially 4 phases of project management life cycle, which are: first, project initiation. Initiation phase defines those processes that are required to start a new project. The purpose of the project initiation stage is to determine what the project should accomplish. This part is composed of 2 main activities. First, develop a project charter and identify all stakeholders involving in the project, and also all information related to the project are entered in the project charter and stakeholder register. When the project charter is approved, the project becomes officially authorized. Then, project planning phase. During this phase, it covers about 50% of the whole process. Planning phase determines the scope of the project and the objective, and it begins with the output of the initiation. The output of the planning phase serves as the input of the execution phase. The important aspects of a planning process are: planning phase should not be executed before your initial planning is finished, and until the execution process does not start, you should not stop revising plans. The next step of a project development cycle is project execution stage. The execution stage consists of those activities that are defined in project management plan. So these are the plan that you have defined in the initial phase. This process involves managing stakeholder expectations, coordinating with people and resources, and performing other activities related to project deliverables. During execution phase, the result may require rebaseline and updates to existing project requirements. Action taken in execution phase may affect the project management plan or documents. The final phase is project monitoring and controlling and the closing phase. After execution phase, to check the project is on the right track, monitoring and the controlling phase becomes actively important. During this phase, various change and reviews to enhance the project performance is done. You can see in the picture attached all the main phase of project management. So the initiation phase, planning phase, execution phase, project closure. In the next step, we are going to check the most important phase on this cycle. First one. So let's continue with the implementation of project. Project implementation is the implementation phase of a project that focuses on taking action. During the implementation phase, the project manager must make real adjustments to schedule, procurement, and the budget to keep the team on track. There are main 4 steps to implement a project. First, review your plan. So, if you are responsible of project or you want to develop your project, you need to start by reviewing your plan defined in the initiation phase before adding it into the official execution part of the project. You view the plan with the team. Everyone involved must understand their roles and that is within the plan, including the expectations of clients and key stakeholders. The next step is execute the plan. At this point, work on the project begins. Be sure to communicate with the team throughout the process, providing proper oversight and guidance should any issues arise. The first step is to monitor progress. As you move through the action steps of a project, monitor progress by keeping track of achieved milestones and adherence to the timeline and the due dates. The last step is adjust the plan as needed. There will most likely be unforeseen change as you progress. Specific tasks may take longer than expected, or the client may make change to deliverables. Provide your team members with support if they need additional resources. Next part is the monitoring and evaluation. It's the most important phase in project management, especially for a project to the goal of rural and sustainable development. Monitoring and evaluation are the same, but two different points. Monitoring focused on the inputs and the outputs, as well as the activities conducted. You can see in the picture that I have put here. It seeks to determine if and how the outputs of a project are delivered within a zone or area, and whether direct results were produced and are attributable to the project. Otherwise, evaluation focuses on the outcomes and goals of a project. It determines whether, why, and how outcomes are achieved and provide a measure of a project's contribution towards improving the status of development in the project area. The purpose of monitoring is project-based. It aims to either improve the implementation process, alter the direction of future projects in the same, or increase the sale of the project. But the purpose of evaluation aims to strengthen the effectiveness of the development, guide and support decision-making and policy-making, guide the future provision of a project, and develop and organize systems for innovative approaches to sustainable human development. Communication. Communication is also very important. It refers to sharing of ideas and opinions between professionals who are working on similar or related tasks. Usually, a priority of a project leader, communication in project management ensures that each professional working on the project is aware of the goals and expectations. There are three main communication. Professionals separate most forms of communication into three categories: verbal, non-verbal, and written communication. For example, during meeting, email, phone calls, discussion boards, surveys, presentations, or memos. How to effectively communicate in project management. So, in order for you to efficiently manage your project, it's beneficial to know how to communicate with your team. Follow these steps to learn how to effectively communicate. First, plan the project. It means create a plan that maps out each phase of a project and assemble your team of professionals easily. Plan of these aspects of the project helps to communicating with your team easier later in the project. Then, establish a communication method. It's beneficial to use more than one type of communication throughout the span of the project, but informing your team members, which is the primary method of communication, helps organize your project. For example, you may start a group of chat at the beginning of a project and specify what you expect the professionals to communicate there. The next method of communication step is to share our project goals. Consider allowing the professionals to share their ideas on how to meet these goals. Listen to your team, keep everyone updated, and monitor employee performance. The last but most also important is ethics and quality control and impact of project. Ethics involve the project moral standards and expectations. They also include the project manager's ethics. Ethical principles are the moral standards set by a project as a whole and individual employees within the project. There are 15 ethical principles. The most important or honesty, integrity, loyalty, respect, and all these ethical principles are mentioned here. Quality control of project. It identifies problems and corrects issues before releasing the product or service to the end user. Team members identify the strategies for quality control during project planning. Quality control is an iterative process that can save time and resources while resulting in high quality product and services. Best practice in project management or audit, benchmarking, cause and effect diagrams, checklist, flowcharts, count charts, statistical sampling. The main cause of this is to identify the non-conformity if there is, and then propose corrective actions to ensure right implementation of project. Let's see a brief case study of a project that the main cause is for rural and sustainable development. Here we can see a project developed by United Nations Development Programme, the Ministry Economic Development and Poverty Reductions, being implemented with financial support of the Islamic Development Bank and the OPCE, Fund for International Development, to create favorable living conditions in rural residents and ensure their access to infrastructure, socioeconomic services, including access to health and education. The project impact is to contribute to the national development target on inclusive poverty reduction and promote economic development through inclusive and sustainable growth, and the outcome is improving well-being of rural and creating economic and income opportunities. So if we follow the step of the project, here we can see the main first step, which is to define the objective of the project, which are to strengthening the capacity of local communities to identify and represent their interests and needs, training representatives of local architectural and design institutes and regional construction departments, capacity building of the construction sector and architectural design to implement innovative IT solutions and digital transformation from a gender perspective, involving local communities in decision-making processes. And the main expected result of the project is raising living standards of about this number of rural people in the Mashalka communities, and also improving road and transport infrastructure, engineering and communication networks, power supply system, application of resource-saving and environmentally friendly technologies in construction and the renovation of social facilities. There will be this number of people trained and capacity built in both communities, and local institutions will be under 30 women and youth participation. So as we can see, when we implement a project, especially for rural and sustainable development, from this example, we need to follow the steps for a project initiation, then to define the objective of the project and the expected result as mentioned here, and then we implement the project following the steps, and we need to make a monitoring and the evaluation and of all steps that we have implemented. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I stay available to answer to you. Any questions or comments will be very important. So thank you.